because these are not pagan people right here. These are mathematicians and pyramid builders. So stop calling them pagan. They weren't the pagans. We know who the pagans were, the barbarians.
Homes for their winter solstice festivals, in which children placed gifts at the bottom, and Sirius the dog star, really a representation of Anubis, was placed at the top of the tree.
See what I'm talking about? All they could give you is sketches. That's all. And all of them is depicted and plagiarized off of the ancient Kemet and stuff.
The Egyptians even dipped balls in gold and silver. They'd cut testicles off animals or sacrifices, and they'd hang them from their trees. It represented.
See how they gotta plagiarize everybody to be barbaric? No, trust me, you're not gonna have people that walk around here building temples, getting information from the sunlight to be divine people of all this harmony and balance. You got 48 negative confessions of evil things and evil deeds you didn't do, but then all of a sudden you don't have a problem with cutting the testicles off of an animal and putting them on your Christmas tree. So you're gonna be walking around with somebody animal nuts hanging on your Christmas tree, and at the same time you are crafting gold and silver, but then you so weak morale that that's what you would make gold and silver balls for, to put the testicles of some animal in them at Christmas time. You see, this is why black people are so scorned on and looked at as to be nothing on this earth, because of bullshit like that.
The testicles of their sun god Ra, like a fertility kind of deal.
No, you're not selling that to me, because there was
roots
other
of
ways of fertility,
the
but that
modern
didn't have to be
Christmas
included.
character Santa Claus was actually the god Molech, or Chemosh. Every December 25th on the ancient calendar, this is recorded in the Bible too, a public child mass or sacrifice was held. The head priest would stoke this iron image of the enthroned Molech with wood and burning pitch, and they turn it into this giant glowing red furnace. And then the people, they'd take they make a long list of the desires that they wanted, and they recite them to their god of prosperity, just before they put their infant children into the red hot lap of the glowing red god.
Now, I just showed you that. Well, in part two, when I did this right here, I actually moved the segments around, because this is part one of this guy. I'm using his stuff to do my thing. But I did his part two. In part two, there's a picture of this character that's carrying a baby with some kindle wood and a chain and the whole 9 yards. And I was expressing in there that I had heard in the past and read a few books where babies were not only burned in the fire, but they were actually given to the Saint Nick, is the name of the guy, who was a Catholic priest. And the Catholic priest took these children and ate them, because at the time there was famine in the land and not everyone was doing well, because of course the Catholics were taking everything, hoarding it for themselves, just like they're doing right now. And as a method of taxing the people, everyone had to give up a child. And when you give up a child, the child was consumed by the Catholic priest. Now this is not saying that, but it's pushing toward that. But this is what killed me. They're going to make Nimrod and Melech, and Melech is supposed to be a Canaanite, and Nimrod is a Babylonian, all right? And then Osiris is the Egyptian, but this is what kills me. What? And then they said they got the Chemosh as Moabites. Now, listen, let me explain something to you. The Moabites is who's supposed to have been the Moors, as well as the Canaanites supposed to have been the Moors, okay? So now the Nimrods is Osiris. So all this crazy stuff that they're making be worked around these people, the Moors and the Egyptians, which was one family, and then these baby sacrifices and all that, that's them throwing their ritualization in there. They were the ones living under circumstances where they was using their own children and other people as a meat source. The god Osiris, the god Asar, was an excellent agriculturist. He taught people how to grow things, so the Egyptians didn't have to eat their children. That was someone who was knowledgeable and probably had come from a region where they was always at war, hostilities with everyone. They was not able to steadfast long enough to grow crops, so they had to constantly move and quest for food and shelter. Nomads, barbarians, Arabs. And these are the people who come up with these bullshit stories right here. White man, Asiatics, is who come up with these lies like this. And the Christmas stuff and all that old crap.
And he was wearing a Phrygian cap too, just like Santa Claus. That Phrygian cap, that was one of the caps on the statues that they had there too. A very interesting similarity. That's actually the roots of the Santa Claus character.
See, that's why the fireplace was always synonymous with the fire of the child being burnt. And the bag of Santa coming in bringing gifts in, the bag was that child got put in the bag and went out.
Kind of sick, the priests would interpret revelations through the screaming of the burning babies. So they get these revelations from their God through the screams of these babies.
See how pagan that is? Everybody was pagan
Rome,
but them.
There was the largest pagan religion which fostered sun worship in the Greek and Roman worlds at this time was the cult of Mithraism.
It's all been sun worship. All of it. See, the worship of Jesus was to get people's minds off of knowing that the sunlight in your body was synonymous with your sun. Taking that away from you would introduce you to a state of spiritual bondage where the person who incorporates the image of the God that was employed when you became spiritually incarcerated will always be able to have control over you by selling you the image God that was already put into your hard drive through the Ma'at for slavery that was introduced to your ancestors.
The other sun gods was supposedly born on December 25th as well. They call it the nativity of the sun. The Romans separated this winter holiday into several different parts. First, from the 17th to the 21st of December was Saturnalia, a riotous feast laden with drunkenness and violent orgies. Second, on the 22nd, they had the second feast, which was Sigillaria, or they called it the Feast of Dolls, when a fair was held, and dolls and other toys, mostly of earthenware, were given to children.
Alrighty then. So thanks for holding. I'm sorry I had to go around out, but I'm back. Hold on 1 minute.
Too hard on anybody, but now, considering the unprecedented falling away from the church and atheism, it is vitally important that we check ourselves. We have to come to grips with the reality of this issue. Continuing to associate our Messiah with these ancient heathen practices and some of these ridiculous fairy tales is only really accelerating this falling away from the church, especially with the youth. This new generation is not investing its heart and soul in what it perceives to be an obsolete fiction that demands their attention. The Christian church today doesn't have the monopoly on our attention that it used to have maybe more than 50 years ago. The church today is competing with the
Pardon me.
Especially with the youth. This new generation is not investing its heart and soul in what it perceives to be an obsolete fiction that demands their attention. The Christian church today doesn't have the monopoly on our attention that it used to have.
Okay, first of all, I'm going to tell you like this. In my opinion, that's a lie. Because where he's saying does not make any damn sense to me. There is no avenue of perpetuation of any deity on the earth that is as large as Christianity. Everywhere you go, you see pictures of Jesus. You cannot see no pictures of Muhammad. You don't see no pictures of Asar. You don't see anything but white-ass Jesus everywhere. So I don't even know how he could make a statement like that, okay? The whole ideal of Christmas, the whole ideal of Easter, the whole ideal of all these holidays that are solar holidays disguised as anything other than a white man makes that what he said a damn lie. From Santa to Jesus ass to Frosty the Snowman to the damn white ass milkman on every commercial you see, to the banker, to the guy at the gas station, to the policeman, to the guy running for mayor. All you see is the perpetuation of God being white. So he can't, and that whole thing around Christianity perpetuate whiteness as being salvation and as being greatness and as being divine over everything that's considered not white. So he needs to quit saying that because it's not true. Even the idea of this being allowed to be in his clip without him attacking it, which he does somewhere down the line. But my point being that we all know that when you see Santa riding to the moon like that, okay, that makes his ass be something great, like a god. So he can say one thing, but look what he's displaying, look what he's showing. And Santa got 2 gifts in the back of his sleigh that he's supposed to be delivering gifts to the whole world, or either he is so rich, he done finished his route tonight, and he's still coming home with stuff left in his freaking sleigh. And if that sounds sarcastic, because it should be, because this type of stuff right here is so bogus to show everybody the influence that this Santa Claus stuff has on the world, and then turn around at the same time and try to challenge the true reality that Christianity is the most leading influence of anything on this planet. It's the reason now that the planet is killing people, because Christianity has made itself an enemy damn near other planet behind all the atrocious deeds that's being committed behind this religion, as well as Islam and Judaism. They're nothing but religion of terror and capitalism, all of them. And this is the biggest perpetuator of it, the birthday of Jesus Christ, with mad commercialism that people have been coerced into becoming nothing but foolish consumers. And this day right here gives them the chance to just really get their rocks off.
Maybe more than 50 years ago, the church today is competing with a entertainment saturated type society where these old fairy tales are not going to really cut it anymore. They're going to have to come to grips with and embrace the reality of who Jesus really was, rather than insisting that the lies we inherited from our fathers are somehow true. It is an irrefutable historical fact.
Listen what this says. It said, in the days of affliction, I mean when someone was sick, the Gentiles, which is white people, okay, Jews and Gentiles, that's just them. That's all it is. See, they won't tell you the truth, but I'm going to break it down to you so you can understand how it was. The Jews were a sector of people who was able to become knowledgeable, that had hung out with the Canaanites, or who we call the Hebrews, which were a group of bronze-skinned people that had started having relationship with these white people, created a kind of Semitic race of people, but not as Semitic as they would want you to believe they were. As the word now they get to call themselves Israelites, and then all of a sudden they're completely separated from black people. That is not what happened. There was a race of people who came and studied with the Egyptians and left, and had stolen with them the knowledge of the teachings of a religious type of propaganda known as, it was really, to tell you the truth, almost a form of Islam, but they just took it, it was just the Egyptian mystical system, but they took it and changed it completely into all kind of things where they eradicated the worship of the sun, eradicated all the teachings of the original black gods and goddesses, and then started a whole new religion where they implemented themselves as the true founders of the originality of where all this mysticism came from. And it's not true, because they cannot process sunlight information. I am the only person on this earth right now that has showed everyone on this earth that there is a such thing as sunlight information that comes to the earth, and sunlight schedules, and the earth and the Son as well has completely gone out of their way to show everyone their substantiation to all my claims. And my claim on this thing right here is that you're not going to sit there and tell me that the Gentiles and these white people claiming to be Zionists or Jews are not the same people, because they are. Okay? You have them, the white people, and the melanated people. Okay? And from the ends of the earth shall say, surely our fathers have inherited lies, vanity, and things wherein there is no profit. In other words, all the brutalness in their lives can never profit or pay off because of the way they attained all their materialism and all of the vanity, which is their arrogance, and all of the lies that they told to attain all of these things is what they mean by there is no profit. They know for sure that the only thing you can receive from these type of behaviors is punishment.
The Christmas, its date of December 25th, the decorated tree, the majority of its traditions, are a continuation of Nimrod's battle.
It says, this well-known solar feast of Natalis Invictus, celebrated on the 25th of December, has a strong claim on the responsibility for our December date. For the history of the solar court, its position in the Roman Empire, and its syncretism with Mithraism. In other words, it's just the same practice and the same worship of the sunlight that the Romans took on, and then the Saturnalia, everything that was a part of this Roman Empire is all based around solar events. That's what they're saying. You see what they say? December date for the history of the solar court. So they're saying now that the whole Roman Empire was a solar court. Do you understand? That means that they did all of their planning around events of the sun. And even to this day they do. That's why every day of the week ends with what they call Sunday, but actually it's the beginning of the week. But they don't want you to know that. They fool you. But it is S-U-N-D-A-Y, Sunday worship. Sunday, S-U-N, not S-O-N. Okay? Even though when you do go there, they throw Jesus in there to confuse you. But they know you're in there worshiping the sun. And they know that too. And they make sacrifices of black people to the sun all the time. We just don't know that. They actually murder us and use us as sacrifices to the sun, not knowing that the sun going to tear their ass up for that stupid shit. But it happens.
Babylonian winter solstice sun worship festivals that were later modified to engulf and absorb Christianity into itself. You know, however well-meaning quoting the soundbite that Jesus is the reason for the season may be, that soundbite really has become atheist rocket fuel. And also, if you just consider the facts and the reality, it is that soundbite is also bearing a gross false witness against the true Son of God, in lowering him to the same level as the sick, twisted, heathen sun gods, which his people continuously battled with throughout the entire scriptures.
And let me tell you why. Because they were always coming into our lands, murdering us and stealing stuff and plagiarizing everything that we have. And see, as you can see, there's always the name calling. Pagan, 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 as if to say, if you're not a part of that Jesus clan, then somehow that puts you beneath them. And see, this is why the world is so messed up, because everybody that's not a Christian have to get killed by Christians or be looked down on by Jesus. And their whole book tells you about the only problems that they had with everyone that he tells you about they was warring through all the time in their book is because in Deuteronomy it tells you how they God told them to go into the land of these people and steal their shit. So you had to war with them all the time because you was a damn gangster going in there trying to jack everything for them. Their women, their jewelry, their TVs, their cars, their rims, their gold chains, anything you could steal, you was in there trying to steal it. That's why you had so many problems with them. Let's run that back so you can hear what he said.
So bearing a gross false witness against the true Son of God, in lowering him to the same level as the sick, twisted, heathen sun gods, which his people continuously battled with throughout the entire scriptures.
Let's go back one more time. I can't believe it. Listen to this.
For the season, maybe. That soundbite really has become atheist rocket fuel. And also, if you just consider the facts and the reality, it is that soundbite is also bearing a gross false witness against the true Son of God, in lowering him to the same level is the sick, twisted, heathen sun gods, which his people continuously battled with throughout the entire scriptures.
Okay, how's this? Okay, so I'm one of those heathen sun gods, I guess, because I'm one of the people that walk around the earth and say to you, yeah, well, yeah, I worship the sun because I don't worship Jesus, because I think Jesus is a hoax. And I really know for a fact that the sun talks to me, and it healed me because I had a lot of problems with my body. And it just started talking to me one day and told me that I was going to be his prophet. And you know what? It gives these lights. These lights follow me around and stuff, and they all in my house. And just look at them. When I point my camera up at the sun, look what the sun does to show people my authenticity. Now, I claim to be a sun god, which would make me the heathen or pagan that this guy is talking about. But here's the problem. His Jesus ain't here showing you nothing. So again, all you get is a bunch of rhetoric and a bunch of attacking people who can deliver. Because see, he's talking all this crap. And the only thing that you got to support what he's saying is a whole history of you guys being barbarian and stealing and destroying everyone's culture. And then implement your Jesus, just like he said, to be above people by force and by acts of vandalism, disrespect, you name everything ungodly is how you guys have put yourself in the seat of godliness. And so when he says that I am a pagan sun worshiper, he better recognize the fact that the pagan sun worshiper that he's talking about is the person who has the sun pointing weaponry at the earth right now, not his Jesus. He should think about that. As he called the sun worshippers, or the God man, the true sun God, the imposters. When we're not the ones who's going around the world, dropping bombs on the world, enslaving people, raping people, causing homosexuality, causing decadence, deprivation. All this stuff is what this religion have done. So the nerve of him to call someone pagan.
I mean, any kid with the ability to read can quickly pick up an encyclopedia or a world religion textbook and quickly learn that the focal point of the entire Christian year has been stolen directly from ancient paganism. I mean,
here's the deal. What we need to do is find out why ancient justifies the attachment of paganism with it. Okay, because first of all, if you really want to know the truth, I thought that the most ancient people on earth, according to them, were the Sumerians. Which means for a fact that he shouldn't keep trying to make these people back here be the bad people. See, again, attack on the Egyptians. Because you got to make them look bad because you stole all their shit. So if you can make them look like the people that was bad. Noble Drew Ali said you can't expect a thief to ever give credit to the victim of his theft that's 100% accurate, because he's going to always make the merchandise that he stole seem like it wasn't that valuable. So it make his crime seem not as big. So these guys stole everything about us. Our religious propaganda, they stole our women, they stole our land, they stole our history, they denationalized us and left us as remnants of people thrown across the world in a state of exile, okay? All over the planet. And then he had the nerve to still insist that we are the pagan people. It makes me want to puke. When I could look at their world that they had a chance to invent, even with 500-600 years of people working for free, and then we still got to have a society where you have a government that's constantly saying, we don't have enough money. Why? Because you got too many fat asses living off the high of the lamb when they're so selfish and greedy and don't care about no one else, and behind their religion, they give people permission, like this guy right here, to look down on whole civilizations that they have bastardized and ruined, and still have the nerve to call someone pagan. And that's why that missile is on the earth getting ready to burn a lot of these Christians up, because of their hard hearts and because of the evil deeds that they have done, and because of their perpetuation of bullshit Christmas holidays to extract more money from everybody's pockets. And he's sitting there trying to act like he's against Christmas when we know for a fact he's perpetuating it.
Millions of young people who learn these historical facts, that they quickly assimilate Jesus with all the other sun gods, thanks in part to the unwitting insistence of the various denominations that Jesus is the reason for the season. And children of this generation aren't set
Okay, Jesus is the reason for the season itself for summer, because we all know that in the summertime, y'all white asses burn up from that sun. So that's one season that Jesus gonna be trying to stay his ass in the house.
Fiddling with fairy tales anymore. They're discarding them. Due to a repeated stubbornness in our adulteration with this Babylonian paganism over the centuries, Jesus is now perceived by a majority of Christians to be a fairy tale. I mean, if you study the polls asking Christians, even pastors, what they really believe, you'll see what I'm talking about. Christianity has become a cultural feather in the hat. Like a dash of color or a family heirloom. God to most Christians is no longer a reality, as proven by our disobedience to God's most fundamental requirement that we do not commit adultery against him with other gods. The bride of Christ needs to be faithful to her husband. Many people ask, why would we tie the birth of our Messiah to the birth of the ancient Babylonian anti-Messiah and then unwittingly follow in the shadows of his ancient child sacrifice rituals in the entire catastrophe? So we need to ask ourselves, what would Jesus do? Well,
okay, let me ask you a question then, sir, if you want to ask that question. What do you think Jesus is going to do, since you had to mention child sacrifice? What about all the children that was sacrificed from the arms of their mother and father when your religion didn't find anything wrong with stealing them from the African continent and bringing them over here to the Americas to replace the missing children that you had already murdered, raped, sodomized, thrown in the ocean, let your dogs eat up, and things like that, that your whole religion had got permission from your God to do? Now, if you want to talk about the Babylonians doing things like that, how about we stick with you and your corrupt system of religious fanaticism that you know for a fact you all implemented on a whole race of people that even to this day you want to walk around and hide behind your stupid ass book that say we weren't people and we did not deserve the same ration of peace and support from our brethren, and for some reason your God saw that we were the people who was just suited for all the atrocious type of mythology of eradication that you guys utilized on us to steal our land, and all the brainwashing and all the religious tampering and everything that you did. And you did that to our children too, and I know that because you murdered a lot of adults and then took the children and reconditioned their concepts so they could grow up and be good Christians. That's why our race is so destroyed right now, because you deliberately tampered with the brain of our children. I just thought I'd share that with you because it seemed to me like you've been spending your time finding out the bad things that the Babylonians did, and you didn't find out what you Christians have done. And so, just in case you don't get around to doing your research, I just thought I'd share that with you. Something for you to just, let it resonate with you.
we should no longer leave it up to our wild imagination to decide for ourselves what Jesus would do. We need to consider the scriptures and see what did Jesus do. We don't want to rationalize and conjure up excuses anymore. We want to walk in truth. So let's ask ourselves the question, what did Jesus do? Did Jesus ever celebrate Christmas himself? No, he was a Jew. He kept the feast instructed by his father. If you read through the Gospels, you'll see how Jesus acted.
Okay, so Jesus was a Jew, because I'm confused. Because, see, his name was Jesus Christ. So that means if Jesus Christ was a Jew and the Christians came from Jesus Christ, doesn't that tie Judaism and Christianity together? And then along with that note, isn't Abraham the father of Judaism? And didn't Abraham claim to have impregnated an Egyptian slave girl named Hagar, and they had a child named Ishmael, who somehow turned into an Arab, which will give us a connection with Islam? So now, is Islam and Judaism and Christianity all interlocked together through Abraham? Because if it is, would that be proof that the Jews are all behind Islam as well as Christianity as well as Judaism? Because that's what it seemed like to me. I mean, it really does. So when I run this back and we listen to what he said off of what I just said, let's
That's
see
what
what happens.
Jesus would do.
Now listen, what he
We
said.
need to consider the scriptures and see what did Jesus do. We don't want to rationalize and conjure up excuses anymore. We want to walk in truth. So let's ask ourselves the question, what did Jesus do? Did Jesus ever celebrate Christmas himself? No, he was a Jew. He kept the feast instructed by his father. If you
It says, Matthew 2:2, behold, there came wise men from the east towards Jerusalem. I mean, they came from the east towards the land of Canaan, saying, where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east and are come to worship him. Now listen, the star that they say they saw is